Let's go to Canberra now. The federal government's long-awaited environment laws are set to be introduced to Parliament today. Traditional owners have expressed dismay at being left out of the consultation process. The acting CEO of the Central Land Council, Dr. Josie Douglas, joins us now from the Red Centre near Uluru. Josie, thanks very much for joining us on News Breakfast.
Good morning. It's great to be with you.
Well, when Professor Graham Samuel initially reviewed these laws, he said traditional owners' concerns about environment and protection of biodiversity had to be at the centre, at the core of any reform to the laws. Has that happened in this case?
No, it hasn't happened. It's been a closed shop. The environmental debate around the reforms has happened between politicians, for environment groups and industry, and Aboriginal interests have been left out. We have had very recent meetings with ministerial staff, but that doesn't include a proper consultation process over time led by the department in conversation with the minister. And we have made submissions and correspondence to a number of ministers over time.
So you haven't really had a face-to-face sort of sit-down with the minister about these very serious big changes to environment laws in Australia?
Look, very recent conversations have been had, but in the Northern Territory, where Aboriginal people have legal rights to 98% of the Northern Territory through Aboriginal freehold title or native title, it's a very serious matter, and we've been calling for a proper consultation process. We haven't had the privileged access that's been given the right of way to industry and to environmental groups, and the interests of Aboriginal Territorians need to be taken into account.
Josie, what are some of the specific concerns traditional owners have around environmental protection that these laws could really look to strengthen?
Well, we are calling for a number of matters. The first one is that we want the water trigger to be expanded. At the moment, the water trigger only applies to a project type, such as coal mining or unconventional gas. We want the water trigger expanded to include surface and groundwater. It beggars belief that a water trigger is contained to a project type rather than the scale and impact of a project. So we want the water trigger expanded. We also want projects that have a climate risk to be assessed appropriately, and that there be no exemptions to projects that have an impact on climate. We also want the federal government to maintain oversight of federal environmental laws. For example, we don't want jurisdictions to be delegated this responsibility, and certainly in the Northern Territory with the CLP government, we're going backwards at speed in terms of environmental protections. We also want to ensure that in terms of where development regions are called on by government, that the consultation time is expanded. At the moment, it's 30 days. We want that to be 90 days in terms of development regions. That gives us time to properly consult with traditional owners so that free, prior informed consent is obtained. And we want cultural values included in all assessments.
So it really seems like we're at the 11th hour. I mean, the minister is, introducing this overhaul of the law into Parliament today, and there's a lot of debate on both sides of the aisle on changes needed. But do you think it's too late for some of these amendments to be made to the proposed changes of the Act?
Well, the concerns of Aboriginal people, I think, are rightly concerns of all Australians, that we all want an environment that's healthy. We want clean water, clean air, healthy landscapes, healthy country. So we don't think it's too late. We're still very much hopeful. And I would say that the political capital and the political power that this government has at this time should be put to good use and have more ambition when it comes to environmental reform. And I would also add this point. Even though the referendum result to the Voice didn't go the way we wanted it to go, it does not mean that government can no longer or should no longer listen to the voices of First Nations people in Australia. And a blow to the environment is a savage blow to First Nations people in this country. And I would say to all Australians, because the environment is important to all of us, for our children and grandchildren and future generations.
Dr. Josie Douglas, thanks very much for joining us from Yulara, as Acting CEO of the Central Land Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you.